While while the transitional justice agenda in South Sudan has experienced setbacks, the same cannot be said for the Gambia, Liberia, Ethiopia. The African Union Transitional Justice Policy was officially adopted in February 2019 by the African Union Assembly Heads of States and Government in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. This framework serves as a continental guideline for African Union member states to develop their own context-specific policies with the aim of fostering peaceful and democratic societies in Africa and promoting social economic transformation on the continent. This one, African Union is saying they are just speaking English, because as long as these African countries that are in this African Union cannot find the way themselves in providing the money they use in running this African Union, Africans cannot expect magic. Africans cannot expect democracy in Africa. Africans cannot expect this African Union to stand to fight for African continent or for the benefit of Africans. As long as the West keep financing or bringing 70 or 75% of the finances that African Union is being run or African Union operate with, providing 75% or 80% of the budget in which African Union is being run, Africans can't expect African Union to represent 100% African interests. Yes, because just imagine a whole lot of things that are ongoing in Africa. Other countries are evolving. African Union is telling us by 2063, in 39 years' time, that Africa will be border-free. While other countries are already border-free, they are enjoying the benefits that come from it. Yes, some African countries are even trying on their own, implementing this digitalization they are doing, which is going to help them in a whole lot of way. Which time is African Union going to rise for we to achieve this so-called single currency in Africa? Which time is African Union going to rise for we to break these invisible borders that our colonizers put in, which they are using to checkmate each and every one of us? Which day is African Union going to rise to make sure that we stop having corrupt leaders in Africa? Which day African Union is going to rise to make sure that we cohabit by implementing policies that will help us in cohabiting and living side by side with each other? Which day African Union is going to rise to see that we do more business with one another in Africa? They are just there speaking English. Yes. Which day is African Union equally going to see that corrupt leaders of countries in Africa should not be the head of African Union? But these things will not happen, because even the so-called Westerners that they are pumping their monies to African Union, they need corrupt leaders to be leaders of African Union, because they will have something they will use in manipulating or blackmailing these leaders to do their bit. So all these things is not surprising. The day African countries in African Union start generating the funds in which African Union is being run by, and the day they start ensuring that corrupt leaders are not the leaders of African Union, maybe from that day, Africa as a continent will start expecting more from African Union. Maybe from that day, an average African will start expecting more from African Union. But till then, they are just all like bunch of jokers, because it seems like they are still dreaming. They don't understand that the world is evolving. Africa as a continent, even African Union and the countries that are in this African Union need to evolve too.